On Saturday, October 17, 2015, Gunnar and Ingrid Sinclair left their sprawling estate in the hills of Sapphire Pines, Oregon, to take their 11-year-old daughter Lizzie to a figure skating competition in a neighboring town. Not only did they never arrive at the competition, they were never seen again, alive or dead. This tragic case was ruled a triple homicide, yet still remains unsolved 10 years later, leaving much to wonder about what happened in the Sinclairs' final hours, especially considering what they left behind. 1. A wrecked abandoned car that showed signs of a struggle, ballistic evidence, and significant blood matching all 3 of the victims, but no bodies. 2. An enviable manor up in the hills of Sapphire Pines with a sizable estate to be inherited. 3. A second daughter left behind at home with a babysitter. Nikki Sinclair, tragically orphaned at only age 7 and without answers even after all this time, has never been given the closure she deserves. Come along with us on this season of Secrets in Ice as we reopen this 10-year-old cold case and seek the truth. What happened to the Sinclairs that day? Were they simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or was this a premeditated attack? And what everyone wants to know, why were their bodies never found? Looking for answers among the shadows of the iciest cold cases, I'm your host Kieran Bergstrom, and you're listening to Secrets in Ice. This is episode 1, The Girl Left Behind.
Nice family. Real sad what happened.
The disappearance of the Sinclair family this last weekend has sent shockwaves through the prominent community of Sapphire Pines, a tight-knit neighborhood where the wealthiest of the West call home. It's a case that continues to leave investigators and Oregonians baffled.
It's a well-circulated rumor among the kids in town that their mansion is haunted. It's a bit of a local attraction, especially around Halloween, since it was around that time they died. Poor girl, we don't see much of her.
From what I understand, the police always thought it was some kind of murder-suicide. They just could never prove it. They say the older sister has lots of psychological problems. Maybe they wanted to get rid of her.
If you ask me, anytime a billionaire dies, a fairy somewhere gets its wings.
If you're from the Pacific Northwest, you have probably heard of the Sinclair family. Maybe you've seen a photo of their family, smiling on the cover of Portland Society, or you've seen their legendary estate nestled in the hills of Sapphire Pines, or maybe you've even heard about the day they disappeared on the news. There aren't many who haven't heard the name Sinclair. In my research, everything led to the fact that the Sinclairs were perfect. Perfect life, perfect home, perfect family. 42-year-old Gunnar Sinclair was the CEO of True North, an industry leader for oil and gas services, with an estimated annual revenue of $22 billion. Most of his employees, apart from a few disgruntled workers, which is to be expected in such a large company, described him as fair and easygoing. He and Ingrid got married young, but they were seemingly happy to those around them. 35-year-old Ingrid Sinclair was a renowned former professional ballerina for the New York City Ballet turned philanthropist and advocate. She managed a non-profit women's coalition focused on violence against women. She frequently hosted charity events that would raise upwards of $100,000 at a time. She was active in her community and well-liked by those around her. What I found unusual is how such a high-profile, admired couple and their daughter could be murdered and the case could go cold. That everyone would accept that no answers were ever found. And especially that Nikki would be left without answers, without closure, all that time. I didn't understand it. How did you know Nikki Sinclair? What can you tell me about her?
I'm Greta Holloway. I was her soccer coach before it all happened. Very sweet girl, very bright, tenacious on the field. She would get so competitive. When she loved something, she put her whole heart into it. It was a shame she wasn't allowed to come back to the team. I heard her new guardian wouldn't allow it.
What do you know about her guardian, Ren Delaney?
I believe she's Nikki's great aunt. I've never met her personally, but a few of my friends have had run-ins with her around town over the years. They say she's foul-mouthed and grouchy. Keeps Nikki basically locked up in that huge house. Pulled her out of school, out of sports and activities, fired almost all the staff. We pretty much never see them anymore.
What do you think happened to the Sinclairs?
Mr. Sinclair was very well connected. Very wealthy. It's not too far-fetched to believe that he just made one misstep with the wrong person. Or maybe someone wanted what was his? I don't know. But I will say this. All alone in that big house, shut out from the world, that poor girl may as well have died along with them.
I wanted to understand the dynamics in the Sinclair family. They seemed like a normal, happy family. But what were they really like behind closed doors? I reached out to the staff that was employed there at the time to get some insight. Not many wanted to speak to me.
Never contact me again. I want nothing to do with your investigation.
Leave that poor girl alone. She's been through enough.
And some wanted to speak to me a little too much.
Oh, my name? Yeah, it's Sean Brockman. I used to clean their windows, so I usually had a clear view of the girls' bedrooms. I probably still have some pictures on my computer somewhere. If you want them for your podcast, I'd be happy to share them. For a price.
A tip has already been passed along to Portland PD, but to be perfectly clear, I never encourage predators. I only expose them. So in case you missed that, it was Sean, S-E-A-N, Brockman, employed at Dazzle Window Company in Portland, Oregon. Luckily, after sifting through the slime, I was able to find a few who could give me real insight, both former and current members of staff, including Patricia Horn, who was a private tutor for the girls at the time of the disappearance. Thank you for speaking with me today, Patricia. What can you tell me about the sisters?
Oh, I miss those girls. Nikki was the cutest thing. So playful and silly. Always getting into mischief, but she could smile her way out of it in a heartbeat. She was very outgoing, would talk anyone's head off. Lizzie was a beautiful girl, the more guarded and reserved one, but so kind to everyone. Very talented figure skater. We all assumed she'd go on to the Olympics one day. Such potential.
What was their dynamic like with each other?
They fought like sisters do, but they loved each other. They were best friends. Nikki absolutely adored her sister. She wanted to do everything just like her. Lizzie was very protective of her. Sometimes a little too much.
In what way?
Well, I mostly worked with the girls during summers when they were off from school. I remember we had gone on a science outing to the aquarium once. We were all looking at the exhibit, and a little boy playfully tugged on one of Nikki's braids. She wasn't hurt, but Lizzie stepped in right away and pushed the boy down. Sent him off crying. I always got the feeling there was nothing Lizzie wouldn't do to protect her sister.
Okay, we're recording. Can you tell the listeners about yourself, Mrs. Hanover?
I've worked for the Sinclairs for about 22 years? 23? They brought me on shortly after they got married, even before Lizzie came along. There's not a day that goes by where I don't miss them. Lizzie especially. I cooked for that girl as early as 6 months old, making every pureed baby food for her you could imagine. I used to work entirely in the kitchen back then. I cooked all their meals, ran the kitchen, helped plan parties, sometimes even helped with homework while the girls snacked after school. Although I wasn't much help there. When they passed, the housekeeping staff was let go, and so I took up those duties as well.
20 years is a long time. What made you stay so long? After everything happened, did you ever consider leaving when the rest of the staff was let go?
They weren't just employers to me. They were like a second family. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were always very kind and grateful for the help. And with my grandkids all grown up, the girls were bonus kids I got to spoil. And leave? No. I'll never leave Nikki until I'm taken from this earth.
What do you remember about the day they disappeared?
I wasn't here that day. Most of the staff had the weekends off. But I think about the Friday before a lot. What I would have done differently if I'd known. If I had known I'd never see Lizzie again. I wish I could hug her just one more time.
The more people I spoke to, the more confused I got. It seemed no one had a bad word to say about the Sinclair family, and despite the wealth, they appeared to be a normal family. No enemies, no scandals, no reason to vanish. But they did. A family with money, power, and seemingly no enemies, beloved to the community and staff members. Or so everyone thought. Suddenly gone and never seen again. In the last episode, I introduced you to the Sinclair family, Sapphire Pines royalty known for their wealth but also their warmth. Murdered, with no justice, even 10 years later. In this episode, we'll retrace what we know of their final hours and take a hard look at what was and what wasn't found at the crash site. Looking for answers among the shadows of the iciest cold cases, I'm your host, Kieran Bergstrom, and you're listening to Secrets in Ice. This is episode 2, The Crash, the Car, the Crime.
Unit 7, we've got a report of a black sedan off Forest Road 22. Caller found vehicle crashed into a tree off the road. No signs of life.
10-4, en route to the crash site with K-9 unit.
Saturday, October 17th, 2015. It was a regular morning in Sapphire Pines, a crisp 46 degrees. Clear skies, slightly breezy. The trees in the hills were exploding with vibrant oranges and yellows, fallen leaves decorating the earth like confetti. The Sinclair family prepared for their busy Saturday like normal. Had breakfast, got dressed, packed their bags for a day out. They were heading to the next town over, Lake Oswego, for Elizabeth's statewide figure skating tournament. Sources say they left home around 9:33 a.m. No one knows why they left 7-year-old Nikki at home with a babysitter. And no one knows why they never arrived at the tournament.
I'm Emily Wright. I was Lizzie's coach. It was very unlike her to not show up. Skating was her whole life. We assumed she got sick or something. I had no idea until the next day what had happened to her. It's just really sad.
They were expected at the tournament by 10 a.m., and Elizabeth was on the schedule to perform midway through the roster. When Elizabeth's name was called, she was nowhere to be seen. No calls, no texts. They were just gone.
I called the third driver, Arik, when they didn't show up for warm-up, because he would sometimes be the one to bring her. Like I said, it was very unusual. He said they'd left on time and didn't know why they hadn't shown up.
Hello? I'm calling to report an accident I just passed off the I-5. Car's in bad shape. Doesn't look good.
Although the exact location of the crash site hasn't been revealed publicly, I was able to deduce that their car was found in Thurston County, Washington, on a smaller county road off the interstate, over 100 miles away from their intended destination.
Dispatch, this is a code 1013. Immediate backup needed. Suspected foul play, no bodies on scene. Deploying K-9 to search area. Suspect at large, likely armed and dangerous.
there wasn't much public information about the team that investigated this case. It seemed the more I dug, the less I found. Even what were supposed to be public records were heavily redacted or missing completely. I found that really strange, and even suspicious. I asked a friend if he could help me make sense of the crime scene, at least what I could find of it. Adam, we're recording now. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Adam Kirby. I'm a forensic scientist in the state of Idaho. My specialty is examining crime scene evidence and giving investigators an expert opinion on what could have happened.
Can you help explain to listeners what we were able to find out about the crime scene? Icers, please be advised that the following details may be hard to hear.
Sure, Kieran, although I do agree it's strange how little we were able to find. Hopefully your client will get better information from the case file. Anyways, okay. Here's what I understand of the crime scene. The car was found collided with a tree off a county road near Interstate 5 in Washington. There were no bodies in the car or on the scene, and a search of the area was done as well, with no luck. 3 distinctive blood pools were found inside the car, on the windshield, ground, and seats. And when those 3 samples were tested and compared to DNA of Gunnar, Ingrid, and Elizabeth, they were matches. The direction of the blood spatter and bullet fragments they recovered in the windshield and back seat indicated a firearm was discharged multiple times. They also found tear marks in the seats, scuff marks, and broken glass, and deduced there was a struggle of sorts, although it's unclear if the struggle was before or after the firearm was used.
If you had been on this investigation team, what would have been your next steps?
I would try to begin working backwards. First, I would want to figure out if the gun was fired before or after the crash. That would at least give me some insight on the timing and nature of their deaths.
From what you can see of the scene, what's your theory?
It's hard to say without more evidence available to look at, but I'd guess the perpetrator probably caused the crash and shot them afterwards to finish the job.
For no bodies to ever be found, even 10 years later, I mean, what kind of perpetrator are we dealing with here?
For there to be no DNA around the scene, no slip-ups, no trail, this is someone experienced, organized, and intelligent. This was planned meticulously and carried out impeccably. You're looking for the perfect murderer.
In our last episode, we looked over what we could find about the crime scene. The blood pools matching all 3 victims, the evidence of a firearm used, the lack of bodies. Everything pointed to a very methodical perpetrator and ruled out the theory that this was a spontaneous killing. That the Sinclairs were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It took planning, experience, careful cleanup. I've read through your comments and messages. I appreciate all of your theories. Many of you have the same questions that I do. If the Sinclairs were so loved, why would someone do this to them? What were they hiding? Looking for answers among the shadows of the iciest cold cases, I'm your host Kieran Bergstrom, and you're listening to Secrets in Ice. This is episode 3, The Butler. Joining me today, I have Ark Kensington, the longtime household manager for the Sinclair family. I'm hoping he can give us some further insight. Thank you for being here.
Very well.
If you could, speak into the mic, Ark. Thank you.
I apologize. I'm happy to help however I can.
I assume you were heavily interviewed by investigators 10 years ago when the case was ongoing, but I'd like to create my own picture of what happened.
Yes, I understand.
How long have you managed the Sinclair's household?
17 years. I was brought on shortly after Miss Nikki was born. They found 2 children to be hard to manage.
What are your primary duties here?
When Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were here, I was much busier. Greeting guests, driving services, maintaining the property and vehicles, managing the staff. But nowadays, I mostly arrange landscaping services and care to Miss Nikki's needs.
What can you remember about the day the Sinclairs left and never returned?
The details are blurry now, as you can imagine, but from what I remember, it was a very ordinary Saturday morning. It was planned that Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair would be taking Miss Lizzie to a competition in the neighboring town. They had hired a babysitter for Miss Nikki, as they would be gone most of the day and evening.
Did Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair travel a lot for Lizzie's sports?
Saturdays were often a busy day, yes. Sometimes one or both of them would take her to her practices. Sometimes I would myself. It varied day to day. On this particular Saturday, it was the state championships, which they both wanted to attend.
Did they usually hire a babysitter for Nikki when Elizabeth had sports?
No, she typically went with them or had her own soccer practice. But it is my recollection that she wasn't feeling well that day.
In the days leading up to their disappearance, was there anything unusual or out of the ordinary that you can remember? Icers, I should mention that sitting here with us also, off mic, is Nikki Sinclair herself. She has generously invited me to come to her home today.
What is happening?
She's a very gracious host. Anyway.
Right, my apologies. Miss Nikki usually doesn't like hearing about her family, so I was just making sure she was okay. What was the question again? No, the days beforehand were mostly normal. I already told this to the police then, so it's nothing new. But there was only one thing I could think of that was a bit out of the ordinary.
What's that?
Miss Lizzie was usually very even-keeled, very calm demeanor, very collected. However, that week she had multiple unusual outbursts.
What were the outbursts about?
It was a culmination of a lot of small things that set her off, not one particular instance, which is why it was so odd. Forgetting her skates at the rink, a project for school that she didn't want to do, not being able to find her iPad, a friend who stopped by that she didn't want to see, I believe. Just a combination of things that didn't seem related.
What do you think caused her to be so upset?
I don't know. Maybe stress from school or trouble with friends. There were a few instances where I discovered her crying. Something was certainly off, but I don't know what.
So to clarify, the week before she was killed, Elizabeth Sinclair was acting unexplainably strange?
Yes, she wasn't acting quite herself, and then she disappeared.
Mr. Kensington, in your time here managing the household, how involved were you in Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair's personal lives?
I wasn't directly involved, but Mr. Sinclair became a good friend. He confided in me from time to time.
Did he ever mention any problems between himself and Mrs. Sinclair? What was their marriage like from what you could observe?
They had many early years of stress as Mr. Sinclair's business got off the ground and when the children were very young. But from what I could tell, at that time they were in a good place. They went out on dates and attended social gatherings together, laughed often. They seemed happy.
What is the nature of Mr. Sinclair's business?
Oil transportation, primarily between the United States and Canada.
The oil industry can be pretty cutthroat, especially on the billion-dollar scale. Do you think he had any enemies? Or anyone who could have profited from his death?
Not to my knowledge. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair were both very well liked in the community. Everyone loved them, me included. I never would have ever guessed someone would do them harm.
If they were so well liked in the community, why do you think everyone accepted their deaths without justice?
That is a mystery to me as well. The staff and I begged for help from the community, friends, co-workers, anyone. And at first, they were involved and willing to help. But then everyone became more reluctant to talk to investigators, until eventually no one would even answer the calls at all.
It must have been very hard for you to find out what had happened to them.
Yes, losing them was the second worst day of my entire life. When Miss Nikki woke up in the morning, and we had to tell her, that was the first.
What were the days after like?
The police were here for probably 4 days straight, searching the property, taking some of their belongings into evidence, interviewing us, looking for leads. It was unclear at first who would be caring for Miss Nikki, but we were all happy to help. We were all so heartbroken for her.
Why do you think even the police gave up on the investigation?
Lack of bodies and lack of motive they could find is my assumption.
Please don't take offense to this, Arik. I'm only asking because I have to do my job, and many of my listeners are wondering this as well. But can anyone confirm where you were on October 17th, 2015?
I understand. It was a Saturday, so the staff was off for the weekend. I normally am as well if my driving services aren't needed, but I came in that morning to wish Lizzie good luck and help get Nikki's babysitter situated. I ended up staying around most of the day to catch up on a landscaping project. It was so long ago, I doubt the babysitter would even remember me, but you're welcome to reach out to her. We did have a guest later that day, however, now that I think of it. He can confirm I was there.
Who?
Peter Vanderwall. He was one of Mr. Sinclair's good friends and business associates, but he lives in Vancouver, so he didn't visit a lot. He came by around noon, 1 o'clock perhaps. He didn't stay long, just came by to drop off some paperwork. He didn't linger when I told him they weren't home.
Can you think of any reason Mr. Vanderwall would have wanted to do the Sinclairs harm?
Not that I know of. However, I suppose it is quite strange that he happened to be in the country on the day of their disappearance.
In a case like the Sinclairs, the most obvious question was, who would want them gone? But as I dug deeper into the original investigation, another question began to loom even larger. Not just who killed them, but also, who has the most to lose the more we dig? Looking for answers among the shadows of the iciest cold cases, I'm your host Kieran Bergstrom, and you're listening to Secrets in Ice. This is episode 4, The Cover-Up.
At this time, we believe the tragic vehicle accident of the Sinclair family is unrelated to any larger criminal activity. We're following up on all leads, but there is no cause for alarm in the community.
The Thurston County Police Department is urging residents not to spread unverified information about the Sinclair case. Officials say they will not be releasing photographs of the crash site at this time, citing respect for the family and integrity of the investigation.
When I first requested the police incident reports from the Thurston County Police Department in Washington, since that was where the crime happened and they would have the jurisdiction, they told me the case had been transferred. It's not completely unusual for there to be a change of venue, especially if the next of kin in the case is a minor and resides in a different state. But what I found strange was that when I contacted Portland City Police Department to access the file that was now in their care, I was denied. In fact, the entire department and original investigating team refused to speak to me at all. Hi, Denise. Thank you for speaking with me today. Icers, this is Denise Marlowe, a reporter for the Sapphire Pines Chronicle who originally reported on the Sinclair story. Tell the listeners what you told me about the crime scene photos.
Still makes me so mad. My article was one of the first to report on the Sinclair murders because I have a contact in Thurston County where it happened. I obtained my own crime scene photos and everything, but they made me take it down.
Who did?
The investigative team. The department called my editor and told him I needed to turn over the photos I had. That the crime scene was confidential. He said I was stirring up fear and the family wanted privacy. My access completely dried up after that. Nobody on the station would talk to me, and my editor wouldn't run any more of my stories on the case.
It is tragic what happened to the Sinclair family, but we urge the community to let law enforcement do their jobs. I trust Portland PD completely to find answers and seek justice where it's due.
As soon as I started this case, I tried pretty persistently to reach the community of Sapphire Pines, the ones that were there at the time of the murders. I wanted to hear their experiences. At first, a lot of them were willing to speak to me, to share rumors and theories. But almost every time I asked this question, they'd shut down, end the interview. That question was, why didn't you keep looking for them? No one ever wanted to answer that. Or maybe they couldn't. Then I received this message from a verified source. They have asked to remain anonymous. This is what the message said.
Hi, Kieran. Just wanted to say great job on the first episodes of the podcast. I'm sorry for ending our interview so abruptly. Honestly, I got a little scared. As you know, I was the at the time, and I led a community search party for the Sinclairs. Well, it was the day of the second search party. We were going to search the woods around the accident site again. Well, I had to cancel it because, unfortunately, my caught fire. The fire department said it was an electrical fire, but couldn't show me where it originated. Everyone was fine, and luckily it was contained quickly, but I got caught up in repairs and couldn't be involved in the Sinclair case for a few days.
Icers, you may be thinking, Kieran, this has to be a coincidence. An electrical fire is hardly proof that there was ill intent. Well, listen to the next part of this person's message.
I asked a friend in the community to take over the search while I figured everything out. He reorganized a new search party, and this time even more of the community was planning to come. It was looking like it would be a great turnout, but on his way to work that morning, his brakes failed, and he crashed into a tree. He survived, but he was hospitalized for weeks. This wasn't the only incident. There were other random attacks around town, conveniently against anyone who took a lead in spreading awareness for the case. Safe to say, the community got a little spooked after that. People wanting to help fizzled out pretty quickly.
Strange that anyone trying to speak out for the Sinclairs was silenced. Sounds to me like someone was trying really hard to make sure this case was forgotten. And for a long time, it was. It makes me wonder what they'll do this time to make sure it stays hidden.
Sitting with me is Pavel Voronov, a local expert on criminal organizations here in Washington State. Thank you for joining me. Move back a little bit so we can hear you, please.
Yes, of course. Thank you for begging me to star on your podpad.
Podcast. Anyway, I have some questions about an organization we've uncovered. We think it could be a network of some kind involved in illegal activities. Some names we've found that could possibly be connected are Roger or Mackenzie? Any of those names sound...
Roger Mackenzie. That son of a owes me $450,000. That weasel double-crossed me. Got like 8 of my men arrested. Whenever he comes out of the sewer like the little rat he is, I will his until he's
Roger Mackenzie is actually currently on life support at a hospital in Southern Oregon from an anonymous attack. He may be connected to this organization, but we aren't sure how. The network call itself... Heard of it?
Those stealing bags. Mackenzie is part of them, you say? May have to pay him a little visit. Little snip on the cord.
Try to focus. I know this can be hard to hear. What do you know about this organization?
I have tried to get in talk with those bastards many times, but no person would come to meet me flesh and bone. They wanted to negotiate on app they told me to get, like Sergey's face app, you see. But I only do flesh and bone. But they're scared to meet with me, because they know they took my biggest client, those rats.
Which client?
This was a long time ago, 8 or 9 years, maybe 10. Sergey, do you remember? Oil transportation, I believe. Big client. Evernorth Oil.
Wait, could you mean True North?
Yes, that's it. Why?
Holy That's the name of the Sinclair family's business. Nikki's father owned that company. He was killed 10 years ago. Looks like they really wanted that business.
Hey, Icers, surprise! I'm alive! And boy, do I have so much to catch you up on. I want to apologize for making you all think I was dead. Would you forgive me if I said I had a really good reason? Joining me for this special finale episode is the one and only Nikki Sinclair herself.
Thank you for having me, Kieran. And I'd also like to personally thank every person who has sent in tips, ideas, encouraging messages, and just overall support while we've been working this case. We have miraculously been able to uncover evidence that we believe will bring my family's killers to justice.
Before we tell you everything we've learned about the Sinclair case, and believe me, it's shocking, head over to my channel and check out the recent video that just dropped this morning. It's recommended to only view if you were over the age of 18, and please be advised this compilation of videos may be hard to watch, and honestly will probably be reported a lot. Nathaniel Morseberry, the Attorney General, and Chief of Police Timothy Hemlock will be especially motivated to get it taken down. And last time I mentioned them on this podcast, they sent a hit crew after me to push my van into a river. Who knows what they'll try this time. So watch and reshare quick before they get it taken down or try to have me killed again. Nikki, care to explain?
In our investigating, we uncovered a secret criminal organization that calls themselves Aetherline. It's a network of 22, that we know of, high-profile individuals who use each other's careers to engage in illegal activity here and in British Columbia. So far, we found evidence of international drug and weapon trafficking funneled through at least 20 different businesses.
We think the videos were some kind of initiation or blackmail assurance for these individuals. They each had to submit a reputation-ending video that bound them together. If you betrayed the organization, they could all collectively end you.
My father's company does a lot of crossing the Canadian border for oil transports, so the organization really wanted him in to make the cross-border smuggling of their goods easier. He refused. Unfortunately, that would be the cause of his death. When he uncovered these videos, it put a target on his back, and my mother and sister were collateral damage. Aetherline killed my family.
Conveniently, because Chief Hemlock is one of these individuals, the Portland City Police Department hasn't been very cooperative. They weren't interested in hearing about this organization. So, media, viewers, listeners, we need your help. These men are the scum of the earth. They live in the shadows all among us, parading as run-of-the-mill business owners, and their crimes and secrets need to be brought to light. Who knows how many other families have been hurt by Aetherline? They need to be stopped.
We also are asking the community to help us put pressure on the officials in Thurston County to dredge Deep Lake in Olympia, Washington, where we believe they will find the remains of my parents and sister, so they can finally rest in peace.
Nikki, thank you so much for being here today. I know your family would be so proud of you for finally finding answers, both for them and yourself. What's your plan now that you can start to see that closure coming together?
Thanks. My guardian is in recovery right now from her lung surgery, but when she's feeling better, we've decided to turn my parents' estate into a group home for foster youth. It's too big for just her and I, and we want it to be put to good use, to mean something. I think my family would like that.
Any college plans? I mean, the listeners may be curious if you're planning to stay around.
Well, I've always heard the van life can be pretty fulfilling. Maybe I'll give that a try for a while. I happen to know someone who's really good at that. Even has a brand new van with all the upgrades. Maybe he'd let me help him put it all together. Tag along, I don't know, travel a bit, see the sights I couldn't see before. Who knows?
Van life does get pretty lonely sometimes. I'm sure he'd be grateful for a travel companion.
Oh, here's my friend now. Vinny, what do you say? Can I tag along with you? See the sights?
Well, I guess that's settled then, Eris.